A continuación vamos a tener una presentación que va a ser en inglés. Vamos a profundizar en un caso en particular. De la mano de Renato Eid, quien lidera el área de Estrategias Beta e Integración ESG en Itaú Asset Management, institución que obtuvo el primer lugar en Brasil en el ranking a las 20. Renato en el 2015 asumió el cargo de jefe del área de Estrategias Beta e Inversión Responsable y en 2021 se convirtió en socio. Además, es asesor de AMEC, de PRI y de CDP, vicepresidente de la Cámara de Acciones y miembro de la Cámara de Renta Fija y Forex en B3. Bienvenido, Renato, y gracias por acompañarnos. Por favor, te esperamos en el escenario.
Buenas tardes, gracias por estar aquí. Yo voy a cambiar para inglés, de que mi portuñol no es muy bueno, so sorry for that. So thank you for having me here today, and it's a great pleasure for the first time to participate in this prize, and congratulations for all that you guys been doing. I really believe that efforts like this are able to push forward our industry and to consolidate what we are trying to do regarding the ESG agenda. So I'm representing here Itaú Asset Management from Brazil. We are the largest private asset management in Brazil. Ballpark now, we manage $175 billion. I'm a partner and also responsible for the BD strategies covering mutual funds and ETFs, and also responsible for the ESG integration within our investment process. It can sound kind of weird why I manage mutual funds and ETFs, chasing indices, and also responsible for the ESG integration. But the fact it relies in a simple answer. I don't have any kind of bias when I go analyze any kind of issue regarding the companies that we invest in or the companies that we are looking to invest. So always chasing what makes sense for the investors. So let's start presenting what we have been doing in this agenda. It's quite simple, but at the same time, it's quite challenging to cover this topic, which is quite dynamic. So we rely on 4 pillars. One of them is the ESG integration in our investment process. Our history backs in 2004 when I started doing this, and what we've been learning on all of this job is we must be pragmatic and only rely on material data. I just come back from the PRI in person, and I've been doing this for almost 10 years now. I always see people complain about data. There is no data available. In my view, I really think that it's too much data available. But instead of too much data, we must rely on data of quality. So what is material for any kind of industry that we want to invest? So I will cover our profit model later. And we just have a panel about engagement. We really believe that engagement is a process to build bridges between investor and companies. We don't like activism. We really think that activism tends to put away both sides. So we really like the engagement as a tool to discover what makes sense for investors, at the same time what makes sense for the companies. The proxy voting process, it's very important. So we are responsible for the whole process of voting for every strategy in the company. So this is a process where we go and tends to push companies to a better practices regarding all this agenda. And the last, but not, it's also important to have products with ESG labels or we ESG focus, But for us, the core is to have the whole investment process integrated in the ESG integration, with the ESG integration. So here you have a timeline of our history. So the orange bar shows how we've been increased the ESG integration in our assets under management. So nowadays we cover 100% of our asset under management with the ESG integration. And also we've been sharing all the learning and errors that we've been having in this journey. I invite you to go to our website and see a lot of research, a lot of data, a lot of white papers sharing all this learning, which is great, because it's a way to promote and also to receive feedbacks from investors, for companies, for the whole ecosystem, to how we can improve further. This is a simple way to describe our prop model. So nowadays you can see 4 dimensions covering environmental aspects, 4 dimensions covering social aspects, and we rely on governance ranking to combine all those things and to have the net present value of all the issues that we track. So we don't use scores, we don't use ratings. There is nothing wrong about that, but we provide managers a pragmatic intel and data regarding the ESG factors that we are tracking. So in the end, managers can see the impact, positive or negative, regarding the size of the company when we're talking about equities, and the ability of the companies to repay their debts when we think about fixed income. So it's a very pragmatic way to think about how to integrate ESG into your investment process. One thing that I always like to share is when we start this, the model had 32 dimensions. So you can imagine it. If today we complain about data having just 8 dimensions, can you imagine it having 32 dimensions, all the data that we should need back in that time? So we've been cutting and chase what is waste of time, what is worth to look into, and then we are glad to say that we're fine with these 8 dimensions. So we go to, let's say, to dimensions, the environmental dimensions, and look the biodiversity. What is the company doing regarding this? What is scarcity? What the company have the plans? Will be there a war scarcity in the near term? So things like this, it's a very pragmatic way to work and to provide intel for the managers to work with this agenda. So examples. So everybody tends to think about this as a risk. I hear a lot of risks word in this morning. We like to think about this, a balance between risks and opportunities. And the engagement process gives us the opportunity to start this dialogue with the companies, showing them the opportunity that this agenda may present to them. At the same time, how they will handle all the risks that they may face regarding this agenda. Legal liabilities. We have seen a lot of things changing nowadays. We just hear that in the past what is allowed today may not be. So how we can anticipate these legal liabilities, reduction in production costs and things like this. So it's a very pragmatic way to combine these 8 dimensions with the governance aspects. Today we're not able to evaluate the governance aspects. I'm not able to say if a company they present 75% of independent members at the board against one company that just have 50%. what is the value of this? I'm not able to do this, but we are able to integrate all of these aspects and again present the NPV for the manager work with this. In the proxy voting, we disclosure all of our votes in our website to give transparency for our shareholders. This is, at the same time, it looks like very simple, but at the same time, it's quite challenging. Why is that? Because someone can look into your website and start to argue with you regarding some voting. So we start this 3 years ago with a feedback for a client that reach us and say, hey, I'm not able to find any kind of your vote when you go to an AGM. And I went to the local websites for our competitors, and I didn't find any kind of vote. And I went to the external managers, let's say from US, and I was able to find the whole journey of their votes back in 20 years. So this kind of transparency give the clients, your partners, confident that you may face errors, but you are giving the right transparency, the right way to build a conversation with this whole ecosystem, which tends to build trust, which is very important when you talk about the ESG agenda. And the latest pillar, which is engagement, that we just hear a lot of thoughts about this, very important thoughts about how fragmented is the agenda when you look in the different geographies around the world. So we must have different aspects and different approaches to tackle the ESG issues around the world. So engagement, it's very important. Engagement, we do both, right? So the individual ones and the collective ones. And one thing that I would like to highlight that we hear also from the latest panel is the sovereign engagement. One must think that, okay, engagement is just about the companies. What we've been learning is it's not going to be sufficient that just the investors and the company start or move forward with this agenda. We must have the sovereign side, the government, the associations helping us to arise with the right laws, the right structures, respecting the local necessity. So it's very important, this kind of engagement that we also have been doing there in Brazil. So here you have a QR code that you can access all of this material that I briefly described to you. So thank you for your time. That's what I prepared for today. And thank you again for having me.